In 1900, there was a horse named Clever Hans, who became famous for supposedly understanding arithmetic. However, it was later discovered that Hans didn't understand math. Instead, he relied on unconscious cues such as facial expressions and body language, given by his trainer and observers to arrive at the correct answers. This is a classic example of the observer effect. The observer effect refers to the phenomenon where every observer brings their personal experiences and theoretical background into their observations. This inevitably leads to preconceived impressions of the subjects being observed. During subsequent observations, the observer may consciously or unconsciously interpret the behavior of the subject in line with their expectations. The observer effect is a form of cognitive bias. In scientific experiments, observers who expect certain outcomes may unconsciously manipulate the experimental process or misinterpret the results to align with their desired conclusions. This effect can severely distort experimental results. The renowned psychologist Robert Rosenthal from Harvard University once conducted a fascinating experiment. He divided a group of lab rats into two groups. He gave one group, Group A, to an experimenter and told them, "These rats are particularly intelligent. Please train them." The other group, Group B, was given to another experimenter, who was informed that these rats were of average intelligence. Both experimenters trained their respective groups of rats. After a period of training, Professor Rosenthal tested both groups of rats by having them navigate a maze. The results showed that the rats in Group A were significantly smarter and completed the maze much faster than the rats in Group B. In reality, Rosenthal had assigned the rats to each group randomly and had no idea which rats, if any, were more intelligent. However, when the experimenters believed that the rats they were training were especially smart, they treated them as such, resulting in better performance. Conversely, the other experimenters' treatment, based on the belief that the rats were of average intelligence, led to poorer performance. Rosenthal then extended this experiment to humans. In 1968, he and his research team visited an ordinary elementary school and informed the principal and teachers that they were conducting a test to identify students with exceptional developmental potential. They randomly selected a group of students from 6 grades across 18 classes and gave their names to the teachers, emphasizing that these students were among the most promising in the school. They also instructed the teachers to observe these students over time without informing the students themselves. 8 months later, when the team returned to the school, they were pleasantly surprised to find that the students on the list showed significant improvements not only in academic performance and intellectual development, but also in areas such as interests, behavior, and teacher-student relationships. This phenomenon is widely known in education as the Rosenthal effect. The observer effect also helps explain why investors sometimes tend to sell stocks that are showing paper profits while holding onto stocks with paper losses. Suppose an investor buys a stock, believing that its expected return is sufficient to compensate for the risk. If the stock appreciates, the investor will use the purchase price as a reference point, placing the stock's price in the concave risk-averse portion of the investor's value function. However, if the stock depreciates, its price will fall into the convex, risk-seeking portion of the investor's value function. In this case, even if its expected return drops to the point where the stock should not have been purchased in the first place, the investor may continue to hold onto the stock. Therefore, the belief about the expected return of the depreciating stock must decrease further, compared to the already appreciated stock, to prompt the investor to sell it. Similarly, suppose the investor owns 2 stocks, one that has appreciated and one that has depreciated. If the investor faces liquidity needs and has no new information about these 2 stocks, they are more likely to sell the appreciated stock and hold on to the depreciating one. Therefore, for the positive goals we wish to achieve, we should approach them with a positive attitude and behavior, encouraging them to move in the direction we desire. As for objective matters such as investments, we should eliminate our expectations about the investment project and observe it with an objective mindset. We should refrain from making assumptions beforehand and instead follow the principles of investment. Additionally, we should establish a standardized investment decision-making process and strictly adhere to it. Alternatively, we can have several observers work simultaneously and adopt the results that are confirmed by multiple observers. These are the insights brought to us by the observer effect.